So here we start. As we enter into a new topic that most of us might be struggling with is time and frequency expressions. Time and frequency expression means something that is related to when we are talking about special topics. And what are these special topics like? Special topics means like when you are expressing things. Like, for example, do you enjoy watching television? You see here a particular phrase being said like this. Okay, let us understand this. Let us analyze this view and we will clearly make you understand things in the as and when it is required. So when you see this, nowadays, these days, it is used for current actions and habits. So, for example, when you are talking about current actions, present habits, you can say nowadays. This actually improvises your fluency. This is what you have to always understand and keep your aspect ready, because always this expressions, be it fluency expressions, as we studied in the previous session, or the time or frequency expressions are very vital to keep your uh, expressions intact, and so that you don't break your words in between. So this is what we have to understand. Let us understand from the first go. The first word is nowadays, these days. So it is used for current actions and habits, not just actions, but for habits. So the question says, do you enjoy television? So I say that in present tense, yes, I love watching television. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of free time. So you see, unfortunately, if you have not, if you don't remember the class, you may refer to that in the YouTube. But just for meanwhile, remember the fluency expressions. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of free time. Nowadays, I am doing a lot of studying at the university and I don't have a chance to watch my favorite programs. So you see, nowadays you're talking about present. In present tense, your habit or your habitual action or your character wise, when you talk about, you say that I love watching television, and that goes in present tense. But when it comes to talking about an expression that gives you width enough to stretch out your words, especially in the part one of the IELTS speaking. IELTS speaking, part one specifically tells what? It tells you about that you should be descriptive in nature. And how many words should be spoken? You can speak at least you have to speak at least 3 sentences. And you, as you see here, yes, I love watching television. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of free time. Nowadays, I am doing a lot of studying at the university and I don't have a chance to watch my favorite program. So there are 2 to 3 rules for part 1 of the IELTS speaking test. Let us analyze the rules involved in it. So the first part is like when you are involved in speaking, when you are involved in a lot of speaking, what happens is we don't actually get time. Yes. We don't actually get time, and we are more preoccupied with part 2 of the IELTS speaking test, because part 2 is a cue card and you are always focusing on the part 2, and therefore you forget more about part 1 or part 3. But in part 1, when you are about to speak, remember the examiner expects you to speak around 3 lines, 2 to 3 lines. And even if it's a closed-ended question, closed-ended question means, well, be it yes or no, I would always tell you that you prefer do not start with yes. Here the example is started with yes, but you may start as yes, instead of saying yes, I love watching television. So that is becoming more natural. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of free time. Nowadays, I am doing a lot of studying at the university and I don't have a chance to watch my favorite programs. Do you enjoy watching? So, sincerely, if you ask me, my character wise, I love watching. But what is my present situation? I am not able to watch it. So I have used that word that gives you the depth to it, saying nowadays. I hope you have got it. Now let us look at another example. Nowadays, I often watch cartoons. I especially like Tom and Jerry. Yes, there's nothing to be very much awkward about, but some people like animated movies or characters or animated episodes that is streamed on the either OTT platforms. So you can say nowadays I often watch cartoons. I especially like Tom and Jerry. Uh, the choices are now different. Now it's not Tom and Jerry. You have different characters that are very well known than Tom and Jerry nowadays. Okay. So now next is keeping in view the time and expression. Again, we use used to with verb, used to with verb form, with any verb. It is used to, we use this structure to talk about past actions and habits. So as we use nowadays, these days for current actions and habits, now we have used this used to with verb to express past actions and habits. I used to go swimming with my friends. I used to yell at my co-workers. Okay, it's not good to yell at your co-workers, but still, if you had the habit, you can definitely, if you lack the words, you can definitely use these words. Okay, let us come to the next part. Okay. So the next part goes like this. That is that. So when I was X, okay, this is a time and frequency expression. It is used to express past actions and habits. When I was a university student, when I was a musician, when I was a businessman, when I was a entrepreneur, when I was a professor, you can use all these expressions to talk about your past actions. I know you may be knowing these words, but unknowingly you skip all this and you tend to use words that are not apt according to the situation. So you have to always make sure that you use these words to get the best of your speaking. Okay. I used to go to the library when I was in high school. So instead of starting with when, you can always start with I. I used to cook for my brother when I was a teenager. Okay. So then it gives you more depth in the language instead of starting when. It's not grammatically incorrect, but it's always good. So it gets more of your depth value to this. Okay. Now, next is adverbs of frequency. You see here, we use adverbs of frequency never, seldom, hardly ever, sometimes, often, frequently, nearly always, usually, typically, normally. It is used to tell how often something is done. So it is used to tell how often you are doing that action, how often is that being performed. I use it sometimes. I use it often. I use it frequently. I nearly always use it because you are very unsure. I usually use it. I typically use it for my workshops. Do you use a laptop? Yes, I typically use that for a workshop, just for a for just a for a purpose. Okay. Now, I hope you got it. So we use adverbs of frequency. Remember this because this is very vital when you go and start using words. Let us look into the example part of frequency of expression. Okay, adverbs of frequency. Okay, I never feel bored when I talk with him. I seldom or rarely or hardly ever go to swimming on Sunday mornings. It depends on the choice. I often go to university canteen to eat with my friends. I usually go to bed by 11 p.m. So you see, in adverbs of frequency, it tells about how often you are doing that certain action. Now, next comes adverbs of infrequency. Adverbs of infrequency. You see, every once in a while, every so often, every now and then, every now and again, it is used in place of sometimes and seldom. Every once in a while, I play sports in the weekend. It says that not frequently. You see this sentence here, which has been used. Instead of using this, you can always use this. I or seldom go to swimming. I go swimming on Sunday morning. Instead of that, you can say every once in a while I go swimming on Sundays. So not Sunday morning, Sundays. Okay. I play golf every weekend so often. So there's something missing every weekend so often. So that gives you the infrequency. Okay. It is not just frequent, but it is infrequent. Okay. So I hope you have got this portion. Now we come to the next that is concession and contrast. Let us analyze this part. Sometimes something is true, however, something else is true. We are not sure about what part of it is true. Like, let us in order to understand that part, let us analyze first where it is used. This is used in part 1 and part 2 and part 3 of speaking and task 2 of writing. So, is watching TV popular in your country? The question goes this way. So, teenagers and little children really enjoy watching television. How the elders prefer reading the newspaper. So, there is a contrast. We learned that in the previous sections where we studied the contrasting feature using however, but this is for your reference. Whenever we are using however, it tells you about a contrasting features. Now, teenagers enjoy watching television. However, the elderly prefer reading the newspaper. Contrasting. Okay. Do you like food from other countries? Well, food from other place is very delicious. However, I prefer eating food from Vietnam. So you may be a fan of the cuisines in Vietnam. So there's a concession. You see, there's a difference in these two sentences, whereby one sentence talks about the contrasting feature. Teenagers like, elders prefer reading newspaper. One part, I love food from other places. Okay. I especially like the food from Vietnam. So then it is giving a concession. Out of the best, I like this as the best. So this is how you use however. I hope you have understood this part. Okay. Now we come with the next part. Now we understand the how to give opinion. Opinion opinion wise, whenever you are dealing with conversations or speaking, sometimes you need to think about a particular topic and then reflect on the topic. It is sometimes very hard to think all of a sudden. So this word or this adverbials for giving opinion just acts as a spacer. Instead of using oh, ow, you can efficiently use these words and just get rid of those spaces, whether it be repetitive words in nature, whether it be fillers that create noises, whether it be stretching out words like personally. Okay, so then stretching outwards, you can always have these words settled down somewhere so that you can use it more efficiently. Okay, so let us understand the first word, that is personally. First, let us look at the usage part. Okay, the usage part says, personally, I don't think organized and social events are important. So this is what, say, I, instead of saying I don't think organized social events are very important, it is not. Now, personally are not just spaces. It gives you a view when you have a contrasting view about anything and which does not sync with the social and realistic part. You can always use this word personally. But I will always ask you, whenever you are using words, whenever you are using socially unacceptable sentences, please avoid it, because any statements targeting any gender, any political party, any religion, any sect, or any group of the society should be avoided. Okay. Any statements targeting any of these should be avoided. And any, any favoring answer towards any of these should be well managed when you're dealing with. This sentence is not very much unethical or can be well tolerated by anyone who is listening to you. So that does not go off. So, but whenever you, I especially tell all those who are watching this, make sure you mind these words when you are not whenever you are using it. Okay, so then personally, I don't think organized social events are very important, but there are others who are of the view that organized social events are very important. So the person may be a introvert or an ambivert, so he may not be an extrovert. So there are three words that we learned, right? Introvert means very much into him, into that person, and not into social activities. Ambivert, a combination of introvert and extrovert. And what is extrovert? Extrovert means very much into the society, getting involved in many social activities, a lot of friends. So that is extrovert. Okay. So then, personally, I don't think organized social events are very important. Now, next comes frankly, and to be frank, I don't like Korean food. Okay. Now, this is not a hurting thing. Anyone has a like and dislike to the food. As I said, it does not belong to any of the categories that I had said to you before. So, frankly, or to be frank, I don't like Korean food. So, you're very frank with that. Okay. So, you are giving yourself a spacer and you are expressing your thought about it. So, that acts as very important. Now, next is typically, this situation is usually true, or that is what usually happens. Typically, for some people it happens, or it is usually true. For some type, you can use this typically word. Okay. Now, next is obviously or clearly. The first aim of primary education is to teach students basic literacy skill. So I've started with obviously. Obviously, the first aim of primary education is to teach students basic literacy skill. Here you see obvious part. Okay, to be clear or clearly the first aim. So you are making a focus point when you are talking about it. You are talking about a focus point. You might have said lot of points in that speaking context, but in order to highlight, since highlighting does not happen when you write, you can place that within double inverted commas, or you can highlight using a highlighter, or you can underline a particular word. But when you are specifically into speaking, you have to highlight what you said. So in order to highlight, if you don't have intonation, the skill of intonation, you can use this word obviously or clearly to highlight what you said. Obviously, the first aim of primary education is to teach students basic literacy skills. So that is very clear. Okay. So I hope you have got it. Okay. Now we come with the next part. So you see, predictably and inevitably. This word is used to the situation was expected or certain to happen. Okay, predictably, the rain was rain with thunderstorms was almost predicted by the weather forecast team. So you see predictably done. Okay. Here you see predictably, most people find exams as stressful. So it is already expected or certain to happen. There is a stressful factor that happens for most of the students. So predictably is the word. It is, I always tell you, remember these words because it gives you a spacer to talk more. It gives you a spacer to elaborate your conversation. It gives you a space to think more about the topic. So always remember, use these spacers, adverbials of giving opinion. Now let us question. Now, inevitably and surprisingly, this situation was unexpected. Surprisingly, ability is usually judged by exam results. So you see, again, a portion of it is being said about it. Inevitably, the situation was unexpected. Now, we come with the next part that it talks about questions about other people. Nearly everyone, almost everybody, majority majority of the people, or majority of, like say for example, majority of women, majority of men, types. So you can add with types of people. So majority of men, majority of women, majority of children, majority of older people, majority of adults, you can add to it. Okay, so when you say majority, now most with types of people, most women, most men, most children, a large percentage of people, a large percentage of men, a large percentage of women, a large percentage of industrialists, a large percentage of entrepreneurs. Some, I'm just repeating it so that you get fixed in your mind, so that you start using it. Okay, some men, some women. Okay, a few men, a few women, a handful of people in the society. Okay, a handful of people in the society. Ignore the positive factors, okay, of being involved in the social activities. So here you see, you are making up sentences to explain your conversation. You can directly term this, but when you use these words, it gives you more gravity when you speak about it. Okay. So we come with the next part. That is phrases of habit. Okay. So you see phrases of habit. Here you see a lot of things to be learned and very important, because Phrases of habit showing that you're talking about a group as a rule or to generally speaking. So you can phrases of habit, types of people, you talk about ages, young, adults, people who are older, students, people who love animals, types of people, you can talk about behavior, energetic people, uh, people who are sad, people who have sense of humor, lazy people, sporty people, religious people. Okay, adjectives of evaluation, you can say thrilling, relaxing, interesting, fascinating, stimulating, exciting, inspiring. You have to use, this is very, just underline and make sure that you write it down somewhere, because these are the words. I was very much enthralled by the experience. Enthralled, thrilling. Okay, I was the journey towards the pilgrimage was really mesmerizing and relaxing for me. Okay. Now, I had an exciting adventure to the mountains nearby. So then you're talking about, you are not telling, I felt very nice to go for an adventure in the mountains. Instead of saying, I felt very exciting to go to the mountains nearby, that gives the depth to your conversation. Mind it that you use it very efficiently. Okay. So please use these words and these expressions very often in your conversation. Okay, let us go with the next part. Okay, these are the useful structures. We talk about the useful structures. Uh, Useful structures you find subject plus believe plus find something plus adjective. They find comic books boring. They find comics books boring. I find it exciting. So they is the subject. I'll underline it for you. They is the subject. Okay. We have added find with something, with some anything that you can add to it. They find mountains very exciting. Okay. So then you added something. You find comic books very boring. I find it I find it exciting to go for a long drive. Okay, I find it wonderful to go for a long drive. Now look at this. I find it delicious to have any special cuisine that you can say. Malabari biryani. Okay, so don't rush to go and have biryani now. So after the class, you may have it. Okay, now as a rule, most boys find video games very exciting. We have a club nearby to this institute, and there are teenager people much more than teenager girls. There are hardly I find teenager girls coming up for playing video games, but there are a lot of people coming up to play video games here. So then there are teenager boys involved as a rule. Now you will say it is expected out of it as a rule. Most teenager boys find video games very exciting. There might be exceptions, but this is to just make you understand these are the things. Okay, now let us go to the question part. Is watching cartoon a popular hobby in your country? So I say not to say use a yes in before starting, better say most children tend to watch animation. They are really keen on watching Tom and Jerry. Personally, I don't really like those shows. I find them a bit boring. So we have used a lot of things here. Let us understand that. They are really keen. This is the word that you have to add. Okay, really. Um, just saying a verb and adding an adverb. Adding an adverb to a sentence gives the depth. Okay, I was playing football. Okay, I was um, I was playing football. You can add something. I was playing. I was excited. I was excitingly playing football. I was excitingly playing football. I was engagingly playing football. So you see, really keen. Keen is a verb, and you have added really. Okay. So you add some word that is giving a depth to the conversation. Personally, I don't really like these shows. Now, again, we say it's a spacer. Personally, I don't really like these shows. I find them a bit boring. Now, instead of saying just boring, we have added another word, a bit. Okay. I want sugar. I just want a small quantity of sugar. Okay. I want some salt. Could you please add salt to my rice or to my soup? Okay. Could you please add a bit of salt to my soup? So that adds value to your conversation. Okay. And now look at this. Why do some people enjoy horror films? Who enjoys horror films? Why do they enjoy horror films? These are the factors that we will be understanding. These are useful structures and needs to be very well used. Okay. Using adjectives and explanations of adjectives. They find horror films really thrilling. Using adjectives and explanation of adjectives. They find horror films really thrilling. They like horror films. Could be very plain and simple. They find horror films really thrilling. Again, adding value to it. However, so we have a contrasting features using however. Not all many elderly like this genre, because they tend to find them really disgusting. Again, adding a, a real value to it. We have added the explanation of adding it's really disgusting. So you see, it adds value to it. Why? However, many elderly people like this genre because they not many elderly like this genre because they tend to find it really disgusting. You could have said not many elderly people like this, but like this genre. But we added because they tend to find this really disgusting. So it adds value to what you say. I hope you have understood this thing. It is very far and clear because if you have not understood the first part of the fluency speaking, you should refer to that. It's already available. It's already recorded and available. So you should watch it. Okay. Do people in your country enjoy fast food? Let us analyze these two questions. Whenever a question like this rises from the part of the examiner in the IELTS speaking test, ask yourself two questions. Who enjoys fast food? Is it young adults? Is it teenagers? Is it children? Is it older people? Is it any group of the group of society? Okay. Why do they enjoy fast food? If you answer this two, you're going to get a high scoring speaking grade. So how to deal with that? Yes. So always use these words to amplify your expression. Now let us look into high scoring vocabulary. We have already considered that in the previous PPTs that we have dealt with, but just to focus and spotlight that part, instead of saying I am very afraid, say I was terrified. It's much better to say that. Instead of saying my neighbor cat is very big, say that my neighbor's cat is immense. Instead of saying his car is very fast, you can say his car is very speedy. Okay. Start using high scoring vocabulary. Start using amplified versions of the words that you can obviously get. But I don't tell you to use jargons. but always use a step further ahead words that can add value to your sentence. Okay, I hope you have understood a lot from this session, because these are the vital things that you have to understand when you are dealing with IELTS speaking. So these are spaces. We have understood the spacer part. We have understood the adverb part. We have understood the verb part. It was really enthralling. It was really thrilling. It was very exciting. It was very enchanting. Okay. So you add value it. You don't say just really, you don't say just thrilling, you add really thrilling. So in the back of your mind, you are able to think of the next word that is supposed to be added to it. That is the the best part of it. So most of us get stuck. Why? Because we don't have the words involved with that particular topic. Go for words that can be supplemented or complemented along with that. Okay, supplemented means instead of that word, and complemented means adding one word with another word. Okay, really thrilling. Okay, terrified, afraid was the word, and then you added terrified to it. Okay, so that was supplemented, and then complemented really was that word. Okay, I hope you have understood this session. Um, this helps you a lot when you are speaking. We'll move on with the next session, the coming days. Okay.